Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Hoyt Archery, Fuse Accessories, Realtree, Muddy Outdoors, Cabela's, Rocket Broadheads, Frigid Forage, Trophy Rock, Easton Arrows, RTP Outdoors, Non-Typical Wildlife Solutions, Ozonics, Wilderness Athlete, Grizzly Coolers, Redneck Hunting Blinds, and Nikon.
I'm back for round 3 of the Poor Man plot today. First time I came in here, it was too wet to burn. So the guys came back a couple days later and it was still, the weeds hadn't quite died down enough or dried down enough that they would burn. So we're gonna try it again today. We got a good wind that'll help to fan the flames and keep it going. We're gonna get this Poor Man plot burned off, get it seeded down. Then I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the Rich Man plot. I've given up on crossing. I went and looked at the spot where I got stuck in the skid loader, and there's probably a 0% chance of me getting that dug out and creating any kind of a crossing there that we can get on the other side of that creek. So the Rich Man plot's gonna have to be on this side. So I'll show you where that's gonna be, and that'll be a project that we hit here in the next couple of weeks or maybe even into the summer. The nice thing about that, any food plot that we do in the summer is still gonna be a great spot for us to hunt over because we can plant it to big and beastie. We're gonna put clover back here. That'll be up and growing by October. But anything we don't get to during the spring, we can still do a Poor Man plot or any other type of food plot during the summer and plant big and beastie and have another great spot to hunt over. So you don't have to get it all done in the spring. I guess that's the point. And I do like that fact because it gives you some flexibility in your schedule and in the weather conditions and so forth, because you never know what's going to happen. You can get busy or the weather can turn poor and the next thing you know, you're not getting it done. We're getting it done today, one way or the other. This seed is going on that dirt sometime today. And then we'll talk about the Rich Man plot after that. We're just not getting this stuff to burn. It's definitely dying, probably dead, just not dried down very well, and it's wet in here. So the ground is real damp and moist. I'm not worried about the competition from these weeds because they're dead. The only thing I'm worried about now is getting the seed down to the soil, and that's why we burn. We don't burn to kill it, 'cause we do that with the chemicals. We burn in order to expose the bare dirt, so when the seed hits it, the seed has contact with it. You know, put it this way, when you broadcast it, the seed gets to the soil. If the seed doesn't get to the soil, obviously it's not gonna grow. So I'm doing a little bit of raking now, trying to break up the thatch in those areas where it's the thickest. And these seeds are so small. Clover seeds are tiny. They'll work their way down through a lot of this grass that's laying on top of the ground here. So I'm not super worried about getting good germination here. I'm gonna seed it a little bit heavier than normal, probably about twice as much as I normally would put into a spot this size, just knowing that some of it's gonna stay, you know, above the ground and it's not gonna germinate. So I'm about ready to spread the seed and call this one done. It's the worst looking Poor Man plot we've ever come up with. This site was just not a good choice. It's just too wet down in here. The advantage of these bottom fields is that during the summer, they don't drought out like the ridgetop fields do. Mostly we've been putting the ridges into the Poor Man plots. And by the middle of the summer, when it starts to get really dry, the trees are sucking the moisture out from underneath the clover because their roots are dipping underneath the food plot. As soon as I wrap this up, I'm gonna head back to the office and I'm gonna talk about a couple bucks that I've hunted over the early years of Midwest Whitetail. You might get a little bit of pleasure from watching sort of our roots here at Midwest Whitetail and some of the bucks we hunted. There's some interesting lessons in there, and I'll get the seed down and get back to the office and talk about those 2 bucks. I'm planting Frigid Forage pure trophy clover in this small plot. And this little bag is enough for half an acre. And I've probably got at the most 1/8 of an acre in this plot. So I'm not going to put it all down. The nice thing is the bags are resealable. So whatever I don't use, I'll just put back in here and we'll keep it for the next project. But this is a nice blend of various different types of clovers, a lot of white clovers in there, but there's some reds too. And the advantage of a blend versus just planting a single variety is the adaptability of the seed to a wide range of conditions. Like this is going to be a wet spot, but we also have areas that we plant this that are up on ridges where it's pretty dry. So planting an individual variety of clover may not be well adapted to every different environment that you plant it into, but a blend does a nice job because there's usually something in the blend that does well in just about every situation. My rich man plot is going to be right in this little opening to my right. So we got the poor man plot here, and there's kind of a wet little boggy area. Then the ground lifts up a little bit, and I'm going to put it in that. It'll be probably almost an acre by the time I'm done. I kind of figured there's no reason to put the rich man and the poor man in different neighborhoods. I mean, we had the rich man on one side of the creek and the poor man on the other side. That just didn't seem socially responsible to me. So we're going to have the rich man and the poor man and the rich man living in the same neighborhood. So we'll have a chance to, you know, they can maybe, their kids can play together, and hopefully we can kill a couple of deer on one or the other. So we're having a little fun with the rich man versus poor man concept, but it does show some of the differences in the way that you can make a food plot, which is always interesting. Anytime you create something, it's fun to watch it come together. The other thing I like about this is it's a pinch point here, right between the potentially rich man and poor man plot. So the deer are going to pinch down here. I don't have to try to kill the deer out on that plot because they're going to eventually work their way through this little pinch point. I can put a redneck blind right in this little corner right here where it all pinches down, and it'll disappear back in that brush. At the end of legal shooting time, I can just head right on out of here. I don't need to bump into anything that's living down in here. If they're not out in this field or out in this little small poor man plot, they're not going to know I'm even here. So I have a perfect little backdoor exit. I should be able to get away with hunting this and having some good success. So it's not going to happen. The rich man plot's not going to happen here in the next week or two. We just don't have time to get to it now that we get, you know, into this time of the year. It gets pretty busy, but it'll be before the summer is over. That little spot to my right is going to be planted to big and beastie, and I'm going to have a redneck blind right here in this corner. Well, I made it back from the poor man plot. I want to talk about two bucks that I shot, one in 2008 and one in 2010. And 2008 was the first year that we produced Midwest Whitetail. It was pretty rough. We didn't know a whole lot about shooting hunting videos or how to produce these things, but what we lacked in expertise, we made up for in enthusiasm and in some cases some really nice bucks. And one of these deer was one that we had nicknamed Brother Buck. There were two of them that we were seeing during the summer that lived right next to a gravel road. Almost every evening when we drove past, we could find those two bucks out there on that gravel road, either, you know, feeding together. Sometimes they'd even be grooming each other during the summer. They seemed as if they were the best of friends. And that was back in the days when we thought that just because you found a buck in the summer, that you found that buck to hunt. That there was no difference. Where he lived in the summer was going to be where he lived in the fall. Those two deer, I think, set me down, they set me down the wrong course on understanding deer behavior, because those two, they did not disperse from their summer range. I ended up killing the first buck. We called him, like I said, Brother Buck, in the middle of November, about 150 yards, 100 to 150 yards off that same gravel road, not more than 75 yards away from the spot where I was seeing him during the summer. But he was a fully mature deer, great buck, shot him heading towards the gravel road. I have no idea what he was doing, and I just hunted that spot on a whim. It didn't make any real sense to be there. I mean, it's not like I had any history with that deer other than having seen him there during the summer. So that one paid off. You know, so here I sit in 2008 thinking, well, this, you know, I've got this figured out now. You find them in the summer and you're going to find them in the fall. Well, the next year, 2009, I killed a buck that we had nicknamed him Survivor. He was the brother buck's best buddy, and he was just maybe a few hundred yards deeper into the cover from where I killed brother buck, and we nicknamed him Survivor because he was the survivor of the pair. And again, he was not very far at all from where we kept seeing him during the summer. So here I am thinking that summer range and fall range are more or less interchangeable. Well, that all started falling apart after the 2008 and 2009 seasons went by, and now every year we are more and more struck by the fact that some bucks will stay in their summer range, or at least close to it, and some will disperse a long distance away. And this is a theme that I will hit on once we start trying to pattern these bucks, find them in the summer, find them in the fall. I'll just keep pounding on the fact that they have two ranges. A lot of these bucks have two ranges, a summer range and a fall range. So it took me a while to learn that lesson, because the first two bucks that I went after, they were living in their fall range pretty close to where they were living in their summer range. So I got the misconception that they all did that. They lived and died basically within a few hundred yards of the spot where we were seeing them during the summer. There were other bucks that we've hunted over the years, many of them, that their summer and their fall ranges will be as much as a half a mile apart. And in some cases, I'm lucky enough that they stay on the farm. In some cases, I'm unlucky because they end up dispersing off the farm and somebody else shoots them somewhere else. But that's the nature of what we do. Not every single buck acts the same, and some of them are more concentrated between their summer and fall ranges, and some of them really disperse. So keep that in mind. Next, I want to talk about one more quick thing, and it struck me with the brother buck being so close to that gravel road that some of our best hunting actually takes place right under our nose. And we see this, gosh, time and time again. And I'm standing here at my home office, and I'm looking toward a patch of timber across the driveway here that's 5 to 10 acres in size, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And I've had so many great encounters with really good bucks in this little patch of timber. I mean, it's been quite a while since I've actually killed anything there, but back in the glory days, the early years of living here, one of the best spots on the whole farm was right here, 150 yards from the house. We're not even talking about 150 yards from a road. We're talking 150 yards from a very active home site, and the deer don't pay any attention to it because they're used to it. So keep in mind that sometimes the best hunting can be right under your nose. In fact, the last buck I killed there was a really old deer that we had nicknamed Jamie, and he was probably one of the most secretive bucks that I ever hunted. I started hunting that deer in 2004. By the time I killed him, we figured he was at least 8 years old, and that was only the second time in all the years of hunting right around here that I'd ever seen that buck in daylight. Anyway, the point is, you don't have to go deep into the timber all the time. You can be conservative, you can be cautious, you can hunt the fringes. You don't have to go through a bunch of deer in order to hunt deer. A lot of times you're better off being careful and hunting places where they're more used to people. And we've definitely proven that with this location here, and then the spot where I killed the brother buck back in 2008. We could talk about bucks that I've killed for hours. I'd be more than happy to do that, but we always have time constraints on these episodes, so I'm gonna pull this one to a close. We'll show you the poor man plot before the off season is over with. We'll show you that plot, hopefully with clover seeds popping out of the ground. I still have to go back and fertilize that. It'll take a little bit of fertilizer probably just to really get that thing rolling, but I'm sure it'll grow clover. It's a pretty rough looking plot, the worst looking plot that we've ever created, but it'll grow clover, and that's all you really need in order to kill deer. Well, that's it for today. I appreciate you joining me. I'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Midwest Whitetail, and remember to always dream big.